Good morning, friend. I welcome you in our today's meeting. Please stand up for our institute motto, followed by national anthem. पंजाब सिंध गुजरात भारत माता की जय।
CA Chetan Shah to please introduce the today's speaker, our own CA Piyush.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you, convener and the deputy convener here, though, to give me this opportunity of introducing learned speaker, CA Piyush Sohanraji Chajed. He is an expert in direct tax litigation and tax advisory. CA Piyush Bhai has also made significant contributions to the finance and accounting landscape, both at national and international level. He is the present member of the Central Council for the financial year, for the year 2022 to 25. Within ICI, he's also served 3 pivotal standing committees, that is executive, examination, and finance, showing his multifaceted understanding of the profession. He is currently also the chairman of the Direct Tax Committee of the ICI and the member of the working committee of the Asian Federation of Accountants, and also represents ICI at AFA. He's also on the board of Wimplus Limited, Cello World, and Multibase Limited as independent director. In addition, his contribution to the Reserve Bank of India, where he has played a key role as a member of the External Advisory Committee for Asset Reconstruction Company. His dedication is also evident in the proactive involvement in creating and sharing knowledge. He's a regular contributor to direct tax publications, offering insights and interpretations that help shape the discourse within the taxation community. His contribution to the WIRC publication on Vivad Se Viswas scheme 2020 and his role as a reviewer on FAQs for charitable trust published by the Joint Chartered Accountant Federation highlights his commitment to disseminating valuable information. Beyond his professional pursuits, CA Piyush Bhai is also actively involved in the various trusts and organizations where he serves as an independent director, honorary board member, honorary vice president, and trustees in different capacities, further showcasing his commitment to social and community welfare. With here, let us all welcome him with a loud applause. May I request CA Pinky ji, our RCM, to please honor him with the memento. Piyush Bhai, please, welcome.
It is yours. Thank you. Please.
हाँ सर एक सेकंड एक सेकंड एक्चुअली नहीं काम आएगा रिकॉर्डिंग कैसे होगा एक्चुअली फुल स्क्रीन दिख रहा है आपको नहीं ये रिकॉर्डिंग फिर हो जाएगा कल हमें में भी और हमें रिमोट दे दें हो सकती है Very good morning. Thank you very much, Chintan Bhai, Chintan Shah, for the introduction. Deputy convener of this most robust study circle of India, JBNG Study Circle, C. Kailash Katrulka, who is also chairman of the meeting today. Vijeta Jaiswal, because she is traveling, I spoke to her last week. Mahesh Bageria ji, the past convener and a very active member, I would say. She Jay again a past convener. Chintan Shah, Seema Mehta, all are past conveners, and obviously I can see a lot of other past conveners, seniors in the profession. I can't miss my elder brother Subhash ji Chhajan over here, who I think so will be monitoring me when sitting over here, definitely. And I will get an honest feedback of it, definitely. Esteemed members of this study circle and the members of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, ladies and gentlemen, I would also thank you especially to the regional council member, Pinky Kedia, for providing me with the memento and being over here. I was working together last 15 days before because she's the treasurer of a WRC. And incidentally, I'm also chairman of the regional audit committee. We have an audit committee at the institute, and then we have a regional audit committee. And we had a very smooth meeting, the way she's working and trying to bring, because when you are writing an account, so obviously, even when the chartered accountants are writing, see, writing and auditing is a difference always. And when you write accounts, would be an issues, but the way she has dealt with it, the way she has presented to the audit committees, a great applause to her. She's doing a great work. My friend Ankush Gupta, Naresh ji, thank you very much for being over here. It's my pleasure over here. Generally, JB Nagar Study Circle, it's always a pleasure to deliver a lecture. And this time if I see the last 2 years, 3 years when I'm delivering, generally I have delivered my lectures on Finance Act. Finance Act 21, Finance Act 22. But I thought this as an opportunity this time because I don't know when will the Finance Act come. But obviously by the yesterday's evening's exit poll, it seems that there would be a clear results coming on the 4th. And we can expect budget coming in the first week of July. That seems now, because if there is a clean majority coming up, because we never know, of course, we always aim that there would be a clean majority, but we don't know. But exit polls have been generally in line with what the results are, more or less. So if the clean majority comes up, I would not be surprised if the government is able to form before 19th, 20th of June and finance minister is appointed. And if in the first week or maybe 1st July per se, if it's a working day, the budget would come. So but after the budget comes also, then that should be parliament in session. Both the bills have to be cleared by Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. So the Finance Act will come. Being a Sector Council member at a Direct Tax Committee, before I go into my topic, I feel it my duty towards the members to update on 2 or 3 important things which is going at the Direct Tax Committee, restricted to Direct Tax Committee itself, being a chairman. And this is my first visit over here in the JB Nagar Study Circle after being a chairman of a Direct Tax Committee. Last year I was a vice chairman when I visited. So you may recollect that last year we had come with an implementation guide on audit of charitable institutions, 10B and 10BB. I don't know how many of you would have really looked into it. Have most of you looked into it when you discharge your audit function, when you have certified 10B and 10BB last year? Last year itself, we had decided that we'll convert this 10B into 10BB from an implementation guide to guidance note. Now, what is the difference? Very important to be noted. Implementation guide is a recommendatory in nature. So there is an authority attached to every publication which institute issues. Please keep it in mind. Like if I'm issuing an accounting standards, auditing and assurance standards, those are mandatory in nature, unless it is specifically mentioned that they would remain recommendatory for a certain period of time, and then they will become a mandatory. If the guidance note are issued, generally guidance note starts with a caveat that it is a recommendatory in nature, but it also goes to say that it is a mandatory in the sense if the member is not complying with the guidance note, then he has to document in his working papers that what are the reasons he has not complied with. Number one, because it's an audit guidance note, what are the alternative audit procedures followed by him? File because he has not complied with guidance note. So we always request in the members that whenever there's a guidance note or there is an implementation guide, members should generally follow that. Some members may feel, I know, even in the guidance note, when we discuss a lot of issues, some members feel that no, it's not being correctly covered, or there is a difference of opinion because it's in relation to tax. There is always a difference of opinion between the two senior counsels, between the two judges. Also, we find that there would be a difference of opinion. But it is always said, let's take an example. There was some judgment issued by Supreme Court. How many somebody would feel it's right, it would wrong? इसको नहीं देना चाहिए था. This is a precedence. So we, as a members, as a general public, we always feel that even when Supreme Court could be right or wrong. What is important is that it is right or not wrong. What is important is what is the judgment given by Supreme Court is final. That's the important. So rather than going into right or wrong, we have to understand it's final. When it comes to an institute's publication, when it comes into relation to audit and assurance, whether it is right or wrong, whether you feel it appropriate or not, whether you have a different view, please believe it, it is a final. I'll just give you an example. Guidance note on tax audit states that how turnover has to be calculated for the purpose of 44AB limit, or for the purpose of 44AD limit also. Is there any definition available in the Income Tax Act? No, that's not available. Delhi High Court in one of its judgments have held that if there is no definition available under the Income Tax Act, and if turnover has been defined or the calculation has been given that how the turnover has to be calculated by a body of experts, that's what the words have been used, by a body of experts, which is the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. And if somebody has complied with or has taken a cognizance of that, I think so no assessment can be had against the assessee. So that's the level at which our guidance note has been placed. And therefore, I always request, please do look into it. And taking that forward, that's why we have decided that this implementation guide of 10B and 10BB should be converted into a guidance note. We had also come out with an exposure draft, which is a prerequisite for coming out with a guidance note, which ended on 29th May. that is 30 days exposure draft. Last day of giving the comments was 29th May. We have received a lot of comments from various stakeholders, including people who are associated with the associations of charitable institutions, which will be now considered in tomorrow and day after tomorrow's meeting. And thereafter, a guidance note would be finalized. In the first week of July, when the council is meeting, because it will require an approval of the guidance council, once it gets approved, it would be in the public available for your view. Secondly, again, as we generally revise guidance note on the tax audit also, this time we decided that we might not be able to revise because the tax audit due date is in September. And if the budget is coming itself in July, there won't be enough time. The process involved in the guidance note take more than 2 months. We decided to come with an implementation guide on revision in Form 3CD. Most important revision is in relation to 43B subclause H, which is covered into that. Again, a draft is already prepared. That would be also finalized maybe in a day or two. Because it is an implementation guide, as I mentioned earlier, it may be a recommendatory for you, but please do follow that because there is a lot of controversy still on 43B subclause H. And when we were writing this guidance note, believe me, even the committee members who are the experts representing from whole of India, including people representing who are experts in this tax audit field, they were also part of those groups. And there were a lot of difference of opinions on that. Okay, how to calculate whether it is an MSME or not. So what we have done is what we are trying to do through this implementation guidance, we are trying to give a perspective of audit, what auditor has to do. There could be a views that disallowance will happen or not happen. Even if you feel disallowance is not going to happen, you please do report in 43B subclause H. You may give an observation in your audit. So our idea would be to discharge audit obligation. That's what my primary role is as an Institute of Chartered Accountants. I believe that by end of this June or first week of July, simultaneously we'll be able to come with an implementation, right? So my request to the members, please do look into it when you are discharging your tax audit functions in month of September this time, before that. Third important aspect this time, after 10 to 15 years, which I know, we got this time an opportunity to make a physical presentation. Generally, we give a pre-budget memorandum. Last year also we got any suggestions also from WRC. And we gave a pre-budget, we got a physical opportunity of 90-minute session of giving a presentation to CBDT chairman and representatives of the tax policy department. In that, we had given a 99-page pre-budget memorandum suggestions, and we gave a physical presentation through PPT of around 25 or 30 areas covering, which included 43B, suggestions on 43B subclause and suggestions on section 68, 69. And it was very well taken by them. Apart from this pre-budget member, what we are doing is we are also sending weekly representations. So if I'm getting a representation from an individual member, that is immediately considered offline by the committee because there may not be a committee meeting. And if we find some substance, and if the committee members all are on a one unanimously feels that the suggestion is good and representation should immediately go, on a weekly basis, such representation goes and they actually take an action also. We may feel that CBDT is not looking into it, but the situation is not so. They are now actually looking into it and the changes are also happening. I can just give an example of PAN linkage extension, which happened up to 31st of May, or revision in Form 3CD, and immediately corrigendum coming in that 43B should not be reported in a particular clause, but under clause 22, clubbing it with MSME, you may neglect. So they are also quite proactive. But in this meeting on 24th April, we felt that there are still certain suggestions which are not being considered at all. So how do we keep a track of it? The chairman agreed that we'll have a quarterly meetings now, and we'll make a chart of things that these are the on quarterly meetings, that means 12 representations will go on in a 3 months period for taking an average. So we'll decide out of 12 how much has been, we'll give a report that out of 12 we have considered this much is in the pipeline. So there would be an action taken report against it. This quarterly meeting will be between the policy department and the representatives of the direct tax committee. And if we are not actually able to go with that particular representations, why not? Then we'll give a justification for it. So at least our idea was, you please tell us. I can tell those members that why this cannot happen, because possibly members or the SSC are not thinking the way you are thinking it. But if you send those thought process through us to the members, I'm sure they will agree to it. They will accept that thought process. Ultimately, the idea is there should be some discussion happen on that it has been considered. So I assure you, each and every member, that if anybody has any issue on it, There's no need, you may consolidate at the study circle level, at the council level. You may not go to that. You can directly write on dtc@ici.in. Please believe me, you may feel that 4 lakh members है सब भेजेंगे तो क्या करेगा. Each and every suggestions when it comes to a direct tax committee will be considered. I can assure you on that. So please do send it. There should be no, you should not think before sending it. You can send it. It will be considered, I'm sure. I'll just give you an example. There was a suggestion which came on filling up a form 10IA, which is required if there's a new manufacturing concern. After October 2019, manufacturing started before March 24. We know that the tax applicable rate is 15%. But if you have to exercise that option in the first year, or by filing a form 10IA. Now, if you have not done, there were adjustments coming in 143(1), where the tax rate is not applied 15%, but maybe 22 or in some cases 30%. So we got, obviously we were aware, but when it does not come to up, we also didn't took an issue. Through a single member, a representation came in, stating that let us have a condonation, because the act says that in the first year itself 10IA should be formed. Now, if we ask for a condonation, what happens is they may condone it for a particular year. But there may be a certain situations where the condonation may not happen and it may continue. So what we did it at the committee level, as a chairman, we decided that let us make this representation in another way. We told them, look, if you see the form 10IA, there is a requirement of date of production. So date of production can never happen in the first year. So the intent of law is very clear that it is not to be filed in the year when the company is incorporated. This first year has to be read as if date after when the production started. And therefore, but there is, I think so 143(1), your CPC is not understanding this basic principle. So you please tell the CPC to change it, and you will believe me, when we change the representation, in fact, we were feeling any SNE law is like it has to be filed in the year one. When we told, we said we agree to you. Definitely, I'm talking to CPC, we'll do this immediately. So it is something very different when you actually do a physical presentation. So this is the background which I thought I'll just take it 10 minutes on this. It's very important when it comes to a direct tax, because predominantly, even today, I know 80% of the practicing chartered accountants are into direct tax or a GST, and it remains our core area. When I see this hall, obviously, I always feel there are a lot of other members saying that the traditional practice is going, there's no scope for traditional practice. You should look into forensics and so, but I don't know the names also because I come from a direct tax background. And if I know, then I know how to tax those digital assets or ADs. We only think of taxation when it comes to those particular assets also. But at institute platforms, councils, study circle, we keep on that, please look into the newer areas. And therefore, it's always put to me a question that whether this traditional area of practice, I know a lot of people do think to it. But being a direct tax committee chairman, when you are a chairman of a direct tax committee, obviously you have to protect that also. And you have to also think over and convey to your members that really what do you feel from a direct tax committee perspective. So I was just doing an analysis today. Last week, in fact, that what is the scope and whether we are running a committee, we are trying to go where actually 5 years, 10 years down the scope, there won't be. Yesterday, 2 days before, there was a list of the 56 income items which will come through 26 years. And what would be the role of professionals later on? It would be your software importing that transactions and doing it. Would really a professional scoping is? So I was just wondering what will happen. Then I went into an history. This automatization actually is not new. It's more marketed. It started somewhere in 2006 when the first time AI came through 26 years TDS reporting. So it's in 2006. And if we compare the way the profession has grown from 2006, 2007, limiting to direct tax, I'm telling you, it has grown super fabulously, I think so. From 2007, direct tax practice has gone up. I don't know if this such softwares have come, AI has come, though the job has become a little difficult because you may have to do a reconciliation at the time. But actually accuracy has improved. And this softwares and AI information is facilitating us. It is not replacing us. It is helping us to arrive at the correct computation of income. It is helping us to be more accurate. It is helping our team to be more, I would say, more accuracy for that matter and be more meticulous in this matter. And if you see a chartered accountants in this 1 crore 40 lakhs, 140 crores population, we are hardly 4 lakhs. which is 0.003% actually. We are actually a species like a frog. It's a very limited, we may feel the 4 lakh chartered accountant, but बहुत छोटी community है. You compare on 140 crores populations. The returns which are filed are meager 6 crores, 7 crores idea. And we all believe the story of the government that this economy is going to be at 30 billion. Just imagine if this economy goes to 30 billion. Income tax returns will be double to hoga ke nahi hoga? Hoga. Chartered accountants double hone hai yahan se practice mein hona hai kya? Nahi hona sir. Only 10 people are coming to practice out of 90. So believe the people who are in practice, there is an immense scope the way I look at it. बहुत ज्यादा होना है 1,50,000 are practicing CAs, and if the return filing goes even double from here, I don't feel that it will be 3 lakh chartered accountants coming into the practice or remaining in the practice at that moment of time. So the tax is going to be a predominantly, and thanks to the government for the provisions like 45(4) and 9B. Thanks for the 148 capital A. It still keeps me busy today also. And after delivering this lecture also, I'm not sure whether I'm 100% correct or not. So that's a thanks to the government. So when you are not correct, that means there is a business over here. If I'm correct, if I know it's red and black and white, it has to be like this only, that means there's no business in the future. I have to be wrong somewhere. I have to be proved wrong. Then only I can argue, I can litigate, I can do tax planning, there can be 2 options, 2 views possible. So coming to a subject on 9B and 45(4), let us go into the history. Everybody knows why 9B came in, 45(4) came in. Of course, this apex court judgment of Mansukh Dang came after the amendment came in. It is not before. So before that, there was a provision of 45 sub clause 4, which provided for capital gains in taxation in the hands of the firm on transfer of capital asset to partners by way of distribution, on dissolution or otherwise. So dispute was otherwise. That if there is a reconstitution happening, that one partner is retiring and another partner is coming in, there's no tax 45(4). And there were certain judgments, including Bombay High Court and some other high courts also, which I have not brought it into slide because I want to go into the history. But I'm just giving you a brief of it, which were in favor of the courts, which were in the favor of the SSC. So I believe with this background, because they were in the favor, revenue feared that let us make some changes in 45 sub clause 4 because they want to tax such transactions, and therefore they came in with an amendment in Finance Act 2021 itself, assessment year 21-22 onwards, amending 45(4). What happened is after that, before even the interpretation of 45 sub clause 4 in the prior regime also, before the amendment also, there was a judgment of Mansukh Dang which came in 2023. That is, judgment pertains to a period prior, but it came after the amendment, which said that that was a peculiar facts case. Of course, why I'm saying peculiar? Because there are a lot of issues after this judgment also. I know reopening has happened. Wherever the revaluation of assets has taken place and partners' capital account has been credited, the taxation has taken place and those matters are still pending. Now the question between the legal fraternity and the professional circle is that what happens after Mansukh Dang? Wherever the retirement has taken place and he has withdrawn certain amount after revealing those particular, if you may recollect, I'm not going, you know what 45(4) we were used to do. It's a very good case of a builder I know who is in Jutara Road itself. What he did is a property worth 100 crores, he revalued for 500 crores. So it was credited into the old partner's capital account. New partner came in, introduced 500 crores capital, and this old partners withdrew 500 crores capital. 45(4) was not attracted. That were the judgments. And therefore, property is continuing in the firms, partners have changed, owners technically have changed, control has changed, but there was no tax payable. These were the judgments. Now, Mansukh Dang says in the similar facts of the case, it says there would be covered under 45(4) and the tax would be applicable. Fine, leave it as it is, where it is. We'll dispute it in the previous matters, whenever the previous old matters are going on. We may have to distinguish it that because this was a specific fact case wherein devaluation of asset took place, amounts were credited to partners' capital account and withdrawal took place. I can do a situation wherein people are still doing a revaluation but not withdrawing the capital. Then revaluation possibly has been done just to reflect the correct value of the assets, to show to the bankers maybe for the purpose of some credit rating. I don't know. There may be many purposes. In such cases, whether Mansukh Dang will hit will remain a question. Because Mansukh Dang, you can say that in those cases, actually there was a withdrawal of capital. There was actually a benefit being flowed by way of transfer of an assets. So even if you say there is a transfer of asset, but if I'm not getting any value of it, because there's no transfer, because the partners remain similar, there's a change in the constitution. I'm only doing a valuation. There's no question otherwise. Definitely, if one of the partner goes, other of the partner does not goes, they only continue. So only 25% change is happening. Again, you can argue that there's a difference when it compares to Mansukh Dang, wherein 98% of the partners actually retired, and in the 1 year next year, that 2% partner also retired. So technically, it was a case whereby as good as you are dissolving and you're creating a new firm, and the assets transfer is happening. Now, what is 9B and the 45(4)? I'll just go to this is the specific tax provisions, and then I'll go it in a summarized form. I'll read subclause 1 of 9B, where a specified person receives during the year any capital asset or stock in trade. Capital asset and stock in trade from a specified entity. So there are 5 important words which are underlined. There has to be a specified person. Person has to receive a capital asset or stock in trade or both from a specified entity in connection with dissolution or reconstitution. That's all. Of such a specified entity, then the specified entity shall be deemed to have transferred. It's a deeming to have transferred such capital asset or stock in trade or both, as the case may be, by the person in a year in which such capital asset or stock in trade or both are received by the specified person. Now I'll just go to, these are the legal provisions, but before I'm just trying to summarize this legal provisions in a lucid language. So what does section mandates? Person has to receive a capital asset or a stock in trade or both from a specified entity. Specified entity is a firm, AOP or BOI during the previous year in connection with dissolution or reconstitution. Reconstitution has been defined. We'll go into the definition. Then there will be a deemed transfer considered to in the hands of the specified person. Now the transfer will be considered as deemed and tax will be paid in the year when the capital asset or stock in trade is received by the specified person from a specified entity. So please keep it in mind. It will be chargeable as the head, PGBP or capital gains. Now why 2 heads? If it is a stock in trade, it's a profits and gains of business or profession. If it is a transfer of a capital asset, it is a capital gains. PGBP generally will arise in the case where, let's say, if I'm talking of a physical assets or immovable properties, in case of builders, wherein they actually classify those assets as a stock in trade. And if the partners are splitting and they want to actually divide assets, it's trying to capture those. How the tax would be? It would be on FMB of the capital asset or stock in trade or both on the date of its receipts by the specified person shall be deemed to be the full value of consideration as a result of such deemed transfer. What do you mean by reconstitution of the specified entity? One or more of its partners or members, as the case may be, of such specified entity ceases to be partner or member. So out of 4 partners, 1 partner retire, it's a reconstitution. 9B will trigger. One or more new partner or members, as the case may be, are admitted in such specified entity in such circumstances that one or more of the persons who are partners or members, as the case may be, of specified entity before the change continue as a partners or members after the change. So even admission is covered. All the partners or members, as the case may be, continues. So there is only change in profit sharing ratio. So we have 4 partners, 25% each. But there is a change wherein 1 partner becomes 98% and remaining 3 partners 97%. Remaining 3 partners become 1%. So technically there is reconstitution and 9B will be triggered. But the foremost, and what is a specified entity in this section, means a firm, AOP, BOI. Specified person means a person who is a partner of the firm or a member of other association or person of BOI. Please mark it the words, means a person who is a partner of the firm. So he has to receive anything. So the very first question over here, before I go into the issues and before I take it, what I will do is I'll just cover up 9B briefly. I'll cover up 45.4 and then I'll take certain examples and issues that how the calculation will happen, what the tax calculation will be done. If anybody has any questions at that moment, any issues, please try to raise it. Yes, firm BOI and this. Not in a company or a cooperative society. Yes, not mentioned over here. So it can be stated that it's not covered because it's not a firm. No, structure is not a firm, it's a corporate under the LLP Act. Firm is only for the purpose of income tax. जब हमारे पास 44 AD में क्यों cover नहीं किया LLP को, you know, no? 44 AD LLP is not covered. You can't say it's a structure as a firm. Can you take 44 AD benefit? No. That's a different reason not covered because 44 AD does not requires you not to maintain books of accounts, whereas LLP is required to maintain the books of accounts under the LLP Act beyond 40 lakhs. That's the reason. So it is not akin to it is a firm. It's a limited person, but it's a different body. It's a different person under 231. It says means it's not excluded. It's a definition. It says that what does specify. There's no exclusion. Okay, these are the people covered excluding so and so. It's not any person excluding so and so. So person everybody is defined. It says specified entity means a firm, EOP or BOI. That's all. Not being a company or a cooperative society. So I go by this limited three areas: firm, BOI, EOP. Notwithstanding that there is a tax provision in subclause 2, which says notwithstanding anything contained in subsection 1, where a specified person received during the previous year any money. Sorry, we have come on 45.4. Sorry. Yeah. So FMV of the capital asset. I'm just parking this for a moment. 9B in the side. Then I go to 45. Transfer of capital asset 1, 2, 3 same. 4 is subclause 4, notwithstanding anything contained in subsection 1, where a specified person receives during the previous year any money or capital asset. So 45.4 includes receipt of money or capital asset. Capital asset is common. It is included in 9B also and 45.4 also, or both from a specified entity in connection with the reconstitution of such specified entity. Then any profits or gains arising from such receipt by the specified person shall be chargeable to income tax as income of such specified entity. Amount is received by the partner. It is treated as a transfer, but the tax is paid by the specified entity, that is firm, under the head capital gains, and shall be deemed to be the income of such specified entity of the previous year in which such money or capital asset or both were received by the specified person, and notwithstanding anything to the contrary contained in the act. Such profits shall be determined in accordance with the following formula. I'm just packing that formula because we'll go into the examples. Provided that the value of the A, again, because we are going into the formula, I just don't want to go. But for the purpose of 45.4, reconstitution, specified entity and specified person is defined as the same as under 9B. Self-generated goodwill and self-generated assets means, one second, we actually missed it, so I'll come over here. Then you will know why self-generated it is coming in. Provided further, there is a provision which says balance in the capital account of a specified person in the books of accounts of the specified entity is to be calculated without taking into account the increase in capital account of the specified person due to revaluation of an asset, due to self-generated goodwill or self-generated asset. Now that has been defined over here. Goodwill and self-generated asset means goodwill or asset as the case may be, which has been acquired without incurring any cost for purchase or which has been generated during the course of business or profession. So what does it says? I have, while calculating a tax, if I receive a money, my capital account balance is 50 rupees. I receive 100 rupees. This 50 rupees is received towards the self-generated goodwill. So I have received something more than the capital account balance. On the retirement, this 50 rupees would be taxed. it would be taxed in the hands of firm. That's what the 45 did. So again, that were the actual provisions. The important concepts in 45.4, there has to be receipt of money or capital asset from a specified entity. I'll just consider firm. Whenever I say firm and specified entity, please also consider BOI or AOP. In connection with reconstitution, there has to be retirement, profit sharing change, admission, something has to be there. Then it would be accessible to tax under capital gains. In the previous year, in which the amounts are received, then there is a saving provision in the third line. It has been further clarified that when a capital asset is received by a specified person from a specified entity in connection with the reconstitution of such specified entity, provisions of subsection 45(4) shall operate in addition to the provisions of 9B of the Act, and the taxation under the state provision thereof shall be worked out independently. But both the new section 9B and 45(4) are applicable from 21-22. So in case of transfer of capital asset happening on reconstitution from a specified entity to a specified person, both these sections are triggered. But of course, there's a benefit which has been given. This is a B, C, D, which I have tried to value of money on the date of receipts. On retirement, if I get a money, if I get a capital asset value, I have to add it. From that, I have to reduce only the capital balance. The balance is chargeable to tax under 45(4). That's what A is equal to B plus C minus D. Just to summarize, again, in a chart manner, what is 9B and 45(4)? 9B is taxability at time of dissolution or reconstitution on income arising on receipt of capital asset or stock in trade. Dissolution, reconstitution, capital asset, stock in trade. When I go to 45(4), reconstitution, dissolution is not covered in 45. So only commonality is if there is a reconstitution which does not include dissolution, then both are triggered. But it's purely a dissolution, then only 9B is triggered. 45(4) is not triggered. This is a comparison again. Taxable entity, firm, AOP, BOI, event of figure of taxability, erstwhile 45(4), transfer of capital of asset by way of distribution, dissolution or otherwise. We have seen interpretation of otherwise in case of Mansukh Dine. New 9B, receipt of capital asset or stock in trade by a partner member in connection with dissolution. It includes dissolution. 45(4) does not include dissolution. It is on receipt of money or capital asset. Year of taxability, receipt by partner, same. Head of income, in 9B, it can be capital gains or it can be PGBP. In 45(4), it is capital gains. Quantum of consideration, fair market value of capital asset or stock in trade. In case of 9B, in case of 45(4), it is a value of money because you may get some money also. Plus you may get some asset also, so add both. Cost of acquisition, both refers to as per 48, 49 in case of 9B because it's an asset. So what was the cost of acquisition of that particular asset which has been transferred? Whereas 45(4) includes money, so it's a partner's capital account balance at the time of reconstitution. Treatment of loss, 9B, loss admissible. It's a capital loss, not admissible technically. Interplay between different provisions, there's no specifications as far as 9B is concerned, but 45(4) says shall operate in addition to 9B and both shall be worked out independently. Deduction from sale consideration due to capital gains taxation in hands of firms, 48(3) contemplates, capital gains contemplates reduction from sale consideration on transfer of remaining capital assets as per prescribed rules. So there were little rules have come on that. Cost of capital assets in the hands of recipient partner. What would be the cost of capital assets in case of 9B and 45(4)? Obviously, on what tax has been paid. So fair market value based on general principles. Fair market value based on general principles also supported by CBDT guidelines. Definition of reconstitution includes sales, includes retirement, admission or change in profit sharing ratio. Very important. Whereas 45.4 is also same because it has been borrowed from 9B. CBDT's powers to issue guidelines to remove difficulties exist at both points. Again, before I go to certain examples and issues, just I'm trying to make a summation which you can actually look into it later on. When will, which of sections will trigger? It's like a, because whenever some retirement, we generally do retirement deed, admission, we do not realize what could be the tax implications in that. So this is a summary whereby anything is happening. I think so section 9B and 45.4 would be applicable. You should actually look into those provisions and then decide that whether any taxes needs to be paid. If there is a retirement of partner and settlement is by nothing, so I do not receive anything, whether anything will trigger. We have seen it. 9B 45.4 starts is applicable when partner receives something on retirement or reconstitution, dissolution also in case of 9B. If I do not receive anything, whether these two sections will be applicable or no.
Anything means over and above the capital balance or anything?
Anything I would say. Over and above capital balance, if I'm receiving something, it triggers, then the calculation. There won't be any tax. Okay, fine. My 100 rupees capital, I'm receiving 50 rupees. There's no tax implication. That's a different question. Is when will this trigger? When will I have to refer this particular section? What is a prerequisite? There has to be some receipt, either of capital asset or stock in trade or money. Either of these sections to be applicable. So there has to be something. If it's a purely, I just retire from firm without taking anything, is this sections triggered? No. So that means still retirement can be done without paying money and there's no tax implications. Yes. Am I right? Yes. Let us take an example over here. Now, it has to be received by a specified person. We are a chartered accountant firms. Let us take an example. There is a retirement of partner happening due to death. And some amount is paid as a goodwill to the wife of our honorable member. I pay something to it. What happens? Will it trigger? I pay capital account plus I pay something. Please presume. Thus, will it trigger or not? Because it says it has to be received by the specified person. Can a legal head technically become a specified person? No. Why? For the taxation, it says legal head would be taxed in the same manner, the way, because of the designation of specified person. He should be a member. That's when I was marking. So the technically, if something is paid on death, let's take an example, somebody expires and he gets retired from a partnership firm. If I get a value of the property, which is 100 crores, goodwill तो छोटा है इसलिए आपने no easily बोल दिया. ठीक है यार क्या ले लेगा 10 लाख 20 लाख 50 लाख. Question is there's a property worth 100 crores. Somebody from my family who is a 25% partner, he retires or because of the debt, and that value in books may appear for 10 crores, but I get 25 crores out of it. Still, there is no trigger. It's received by my legal head. I'm not saying received by the specified person. Will it defeat the purpose of 45.4 and 9B? That's not an intention.
Intention is the planning people are doing and balance.
That they want to. Yes, sir. But sir, at the time of receipt, sir, at the time of receipt, he was not a partner. No, he didn't want anything. It says received by a specified person. Specific person is defined that he should be a agreed. Yeah, that would be an objective possibly. If that would have been object, why should there have been made a watertight that he should be a partner? He should have been partner. He should have received as a partner, I would say. He should have received in lieu of his partnership. I would say like that. I could have still agreed. Question is, he should be a partner. So as a partner, you have to receive something. If on a death of a partner, if it is received by a legal heir, whether it could be taxed, it goes to a very root question because there is a lot of issue in this. I'll tell you.
See the partnership deed, then what happens?
Partnership deed creates a right that who will get, how the calculation will happen. It will not determine your taxability. Can it? It's a very important question that I'm telling you because these are issues been discussed and there are difference of views. Yes, please. Reconstitution है ना? Retirement because it says retirement. Retirement because of death is also a retirement. You can't say if there is a death, so that it's not a retirement. It does not fall within definition of retirement. Retirement can be because of death also.
Death of the partner, balance sheet is drawn. And at that time that excess amount will be credited to the partner who is deceased.
So generally balance.
Settlement takes-
Sir, generally balance sheet is obviously you do it on the date of death. But technically, when he's already expired, in my view, I'll say. So let's just take an example. One of the partner expires on 31st of December. You make a balance sheet on 31st December, technically. But technically, it's not payable to him on 31st December. It is payable to a legal heir. He's not there on the end of the day of 31st December when you draw balance sheet at 12 p.m.
When it is credited to his account, the legal heir will be able to.
So he will never receive it, sir. How would you comply with that he receives? You will never receive it. There's a judgment, of course, this is very clear according to me, that if anything is received by legal heir, my view would be, it should not be taxed. That's my view, sir. And that's why I think we have a lot of work over here. बहुत काम है. This is बहुत है इसके ऊपर.
So if A and B are partners, B dies and C is admitted on the same date. And the book value of whatever is the capital balance is given to the legal heir of Mr. B. Whether any tax incidents will be there or not.
No, because that's what I say. Anything has to be received by the partner. If it is received by partner, his legal heir, it does not mean received by partner. That's what view I am taking. And I have a strong because in this case, there is also protection available in the definition itself. Otherwise, there is an old law wherein there was certain amounts received by a widow which was otherwise entitled by her during his lifetime by a particular person. So his widow received a certain amount. Question arises whether it is an income at all in the hands of a widow. It was an income, it was taxable, it accepts whatever may be, it may be pension. Let us take an example. Obviously, we are taxing pension in the hands of the widow because she gets a right to recover it. But the right to recover that amount was of that particular person, but he could not recover it, and that is recovered by legal heir, whether it can be taxed, whether it becomes income in his or her hands. The judgment is there which says no, it does not become income. It was income in the hands of deceased. She will receive it. But that does not that does not become income in her hands. For her, for the widow or the whosoever is the legal heir, it will remain capital receipt. So it was, if he would have been alive and he would have recovered during his lifetime, that it would have been a nature of income for him. So that also helps me in my interpretation that that could be an indication that it cannot be taxed, basically. So just we'll take it ahead. Retirement of a partner, if nothing is received, no tax implication. If money is received, 45(4), capital asset, both stock and trade, 9B, and so forth. Without going admission, again, no, yes, no. Same. Change in profit sharing ratio, more or less similar. Everything is dissolution of firm, there's a difference. Nothing is received, no 9B, 45(4). Money is received, 45(4) लगेगा. Am I right? नहीं sir, यहाँ पे no लिखा है. वो कच्चा पापड़ पक्का पापड़ के ऐसा हो गया, वो भी हो जाता है. So you keep on repeating, it becomes very difficult. It confusing. It is confusing. So 45(4) dissolution is not covered up. 45(4) is only reconstitution, whereas 9B is dissolution as well as reconstitution. So in case of dissolution, money is covered in 45(4), not in 9B. If it's a dissolution, no applicability of 9B or 45(4). I think वो separate section. I'll not go into that. It's not that there is no tax, there is tax. Dissolution of firm, capital asset, yes, 9B, stock in trade, 9B. हाँ sir.
ये very important issue of disease to have.
हाँ.
Whether, as a chairman, you have represented to the security for clarification.
No sir, no sir, we never represent such things. As I said, मैंने आपको एग्जाम्पल दिया 10 का, मुझे नहीं सर, क्लेरिफिकेशन नहीं मांगते हम कभी भी ऐसी चीजों का जहाँ पे हमारा व्यू स्ट्रांग हो. I'll tell you why. I just said in the start, somebody said please condone the delay of 10IA. I said why you want condonation? My interpretation is it has to be filed after date of manufacturing. So you clarify on that. You please said what I told, I don't want clarification. I said my law is this clear, sorry. That's how we represent. You tell your CPC to implement it. Super. If I go and tell you clarify, तो वो अपना eyeglass खोलेगा, फिर वो टीपी बोलेगा नहीं हमारा ऑब्जेक्टिव तो ऐसा नहीं था, उसी दिन करना था और ये मिस आउट हो गया, ये मिस आउट हो गया. It should have been charged in the hands of the legal heir. You are right. This is sir. I'll tell you one example, and it came today on in CBDT. I'm just going transgressing beyond because Mahesh, very important point. In this presentation, one of our suggestion was section 68 tax rate 60% is very high. It should be 30%. We physically told CBDT chairman sir, that's what I said. You know why it was brought. Should I tell you or should I explain? Well, Piyush, I know very well. But if you still want to present it, you present it. Sir, this he understood. Section 68 was brought. Anybody knows why section 68 में 60% लाया था? 115 में भी क्यों आया था? Demonetized. उसको लाया भी था in between. वो क्या उस टाइम पे वो चला था कुछ? Yes. Why did it was? We made smart sir. आपके जैसे और हमारे जैसे गए WhatsApp पे सर कुछ नहीं है, no problem, cash deposit करो. It was discussed that time if somebody recollects, you deposit cash, you offer for income, nothing can be done. 30% tax. It's a super BDI scheme, great. So they realized that sir, we have done best. Anybody will go deposit cash, pay 30% tax. So हमारे यहाँ से suggestion जाने लगे, suggestion जब जाने लगे तो बोला इसको plug करो loophole plug करने के लिए special rate लिया है 60%. So then we said, can we want to be done? So we went to this immediately this time. I'll show you my pre-budget memorandum. We have written this. Then the objective was demonetization. That is over. Now it cannot continue with 60%. It should be brought to 30%. You will not believe they agreed immediately. Okay, yes, it should be brought to 30%. We told him, okay, sir, 68, 69 starts with a word explanation, satisfaction of the assessing officer. And satisfaction is always dependent upon tax rate. If tax rate 60% होता है तो satisfaction difficult होता है. Maybe physical में तो difficult था 100%. 10%, 30%, 60%, your satisfaction levels goes high when the tax involved is high. So he agreed immediately he will do it. You give us an additional pre-budget with a proper more further justification with facts and figures, we'll do it. But only limitation, I believe if this comes, I will be most happiest person. I will say I have achieved. Agar ye 30% ho gaya. But he said one limitation, boss. Let's see, we have come with an updated return, which allows you to update and offer something else, which is and goes up to 45%, 37.5, additional 25%, additional 50%. तो हम 45 कर लेते हैं, 30 नहीं करते, वरना वो अपडेटेड रिटर्न वाले का क्या हाल होगा? मैं बोला both are not comparable, but anyways you do at least 45. अब करो इसको, चालू करो, start something. So I believe something can happen. So Mahesh, what we try to do is generally, whenever there is a two views possible, it's better not to. That's generally a direct tax committee's view that we should not approach for a clarification. We should not approach. Means you will try to complicate. We have to live with it and take a judgment on that. So we generally take a judgment. In turnover का definition है. तो हम वो F&O के लिए guidance note का we take no. So there are so much controversies in guidance note on turnover, which people say I am not accepting it, sir. And believe me, sir, when I give lectures, I go to other places other than Mumbai. People say, sir, आपका guidance note बराबर नहीं है. 17 clause 517 में आपने लिखा है कि अगर मेरे पास 2 बिजनेस है, 44AD में मैंने 100 करोड़ रुपए 1 करोड़ ऑफर किया और दूसरा बिजनेस का 2 करोड़ है, तो आप ऑडिट ही नहीं करवा रहे हो। 1 करोड़ की लिमिट है फॉर एन 1 करोड़ और 50 लाख, आई शुड नॉट एड इट 1.5 because I have to exclude turnover of 44AD. So there is a lot of controversy without going into that. So generally what we do is we try to tweak it in a manner whereby we don't seek a clarification, hardly we seek a clarification, we give our position. This is boss position. Our understanding is just very clear. We never say कि you clarify कि ये ऐसा हो सकता है, ये ऐसा होता है, तो वो against us ही आता है. So we say कि boss, this is the position in our representation letter. We want you to please circulate this position properly in the assessing officers and CPIs. उनको बराबर समझ में आना चाहिए ये बात. वो लोग समझ नहीं रहे, आप समझ रहे हो. वो नहीं समझेगा तो बोलेगा सर नहीं समझ रहा हूँ. But they also try to understand better because when they are sitting, they are more into a policy making. They feel कि yes. Or they will explain us, boss, your position is not correct. Our objective of bringing in this was this. So thank you, Mahesh bhai. In space distribution on dissolution, I've taken some examples because this I can only run with an examples. Otherwise, law is very clear. Yes. आएगा तब देखो. बड़ा डिस्प्यूटेड इश्यू है कि ट्रांसफर हो गया, मैं 31 मार्च को रिटायर हो गया, लेकिन पैसा 1 अप्रैल को दे रहा हूं, तो क्या कौन से साल में पहली बार टैक्स होगा और कौन से साल में होगा? सो टैक्स होगा लेकिन रिसीट पे टैक्स होगा. APFS 2 equal partners A1 A2. My capital account balance 5,000, land value 10,000. It is a long term asset. Firm is to be dissolved. FMB of land as on date of is 1 lakh. So I am dissolving the firm in this. Fair market value is 1 lakh rupees of the land. Firm को मैं dissolve करके 50% land दे दिया. क्या tax implication? 1 lakh की land firm को dissolve की, distribute की to both the partners. So they got land in 50%, right? Which is worth 50,000 rupees each. What would be the tax implication? पीछे है साइड पे सर थोड़ा सा आप, ये तो सबसे सिंपल है. 9 भी लगेगा, 45(4) लगेगा. कैपिटल असेट ऑन डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, ऑन डिसोल्यूशन 45(4) नो, क्योंकि डिसोल्यूशन इज नॉट कवर्ड. फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू ऑफ 1 lakh, लॉन्ग टर्म एंड कैपिटल गेन्स इन हैंड्स ऑफ फर्म 90,000. करेक्ट? सिंपल. Cash payout on retirement. Yes, sir.
As if you are a partner, they were both entitled to 50-50 because the partnership cannot hold a property in its own.
लेकिन सर अभी भरोसा नहीं है आपके और मेरे पे एक दूसरे पे. बोलते डिसॉल्व करके 50-50 ट्रांसफर कर दो लैंड. फिर what happens is as if they 50% we are there, but then still also dissolve करके you want to actually give the partnership assets.
Can be the name of the partners only. Cannot be the name of the firm.
Agreed. Their partners representing the firm, sir. Partners representing the firm, not in partner's name, I would say. It is held in the partner's name who is representing on behalf of the firm. So it does not actually makes an impact. But still, if the person wants that, I don't want in my individual name, I want a property. It may be an undivided right. अगर मेरे फर्म में 2 प्रॉपर्टी है कि 50 तेरी 50 मेरी, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. लेकिन for the taxation purpose, it is held in the books of the firm. How will you decide on taxation? My one partner would say, I want to sell it today. वो दूसरा पार्टनर बेचने देगा कि फर्म का पहले टैक्स भरो, कि फर्म के हाथ में टैक्स आएगा. I am ready to sell my 50%, take my funds and retire. So that's why. So my rights are 50-50%. I am protected it, but of course I want to get splitted. So once you split it, that's a tax impact. हम क्या करते थे, पहले split कर देते थे, कोई टैक्स नहीं लगता था, चल जाता था. लेकिन डिसोल्यूशन में तभी भी था और अदरवाइज में. Sir, firm is relinquishing its assets. Sir, the firm is paying the money. How will the money? Naturally, firm only. Ultimately, firm का tax has to be paid by the partners also. No, that can be deducted. Yes, before the retirement, on the settlement of the account, on the retirement, yes, that 50,000 is credited to you, so I'm giving you an asset worth rupees. So what would be the book entry in such cases? What would be the book entry I would do? I would first, technically, what I should do is, if I want to close the account, I would revalue the account at like 1 crore. I would say as 1 crore I have sold it, and I will credit it to partner's capital account. And then on the retirement, I will again debit 50,000 to them, and the account will be closed. That's all. If I have to pay tax, I will deposit certain tax, which partners will have to bring in again, because there's no cash transactions. So 50,000 का तो मैं ले लेके जा रहा हूँ, firm के पास तो पैसा है नहीं इस केस में, तो partners will have to bring in that cash. If I have to, for an example, deposit 18 rupees on 90,000, 18,000 rupees, 20%, they will have to bring 9,000 each in cash, which will be credited to his capital account. Then my books will technically close. This is the case. XYZ, we have 3 partners, XYZ, having 500 rupees capital balance, against which I have a land in my balance sheet. Very simple, 1,500 rupees. Now the land is market value 2,100 rupees, means 700 rupees एक का right हुआ. हम ये businessman जैसा काम है कि 700 रुपए का मेरा asset है, मुझे 700 रुपया दे. In order to settle X retires from the firm, and his account is settled in cash after taking into account fair market value. So he says, I retire, but you pay me 700 rupees. फिर लैंड आपकी दोनों की, आप मैं रिटायर हो जाऊंगा, आप लोग 1/3 की जगह 50-50 पार्टनर बन जाओगे. X is paid 700 against his capital balance of 500. 700 is represented by capital of 500 plus 1/3 share in appreciation. 600 रुपया इंक्रीज हुआ, उसका 200. What is tax application? क्या करना है? 700 रुपये. कौन सा पहला 9 भी के 45 मनी बोथ की सर, कैपिटल एसेट तो इधर ही है, मैं कैश में दे रहा हूं ना. In order to settle X share, continuing partners Y and Z bring in cash, so I am paying cash. तो money is covered under 45, कहीं पे भी नहीं. 700 रुपया आया, कैपिटल बैलेंस 500, 200 के ऊपर टैक्स, कैपिटल गेन्स. Now let us go further. Amount of 200 is at, yes sir. 1 minute. हाँ. Same thing, boss. You have to ignore, if you remember my definition section, you have to ignore amounts credited in the capital accounts generating self-generated goodwill or self-generated devaluation of the asset. तो उसको ignore करना है. So मैं अगर 700 करके 2100 कर दूं बैलेंस शीट को, if I make this 700, 700, 700 and 2100, for an example, 600 is revaluing the asset. 600 land में credit हो गया, 600 partners में. But when he gets retired, he will pay 700, which has been done now. Actually, people are doing this, and that's why Mansukh Dai came. Mansukh Dai said, "No, I'll tax it." Sorry, Mansukh Dai in that case was also taxed for the position prior to 21. After 21, now it's clear in 45(4) itself कि 700 rupees के सामने मुझे 700 मिला, लेकिन मेरा कैपिटल बैलेंस का जो कैलकुलेशन है उसमें 700 माइनस 200 करना है, which pertains to valuation. So I have to ignore revaluation. हम पहले करते थे वो फिक्स्ड एसेट्स को जब रिवैल्यू करते हैं तो डेप्रिसिएशन और डिवैल्यूएशन हैज टू बी रिवर्स. Young people will remember who is doing now final accounts. So we have to reverse. So it's same. You have to reverse it. Now let's go ahead. Amount of 200 is attributed to revaluation of land. 48(3) reduce 200 from sale consideration of transfer of land in future by firm. इस 200 के ऊपर टैक्स पे कर दिया. 600, 2100 is a fair market value of land. If I sell it tomorrow at 2100, my original cost is say 1500. Shall I pay tax on 600? When the firm sells it, two partners sells it for 600, he earns 600. Should I pay again tax on 200? On 400? That's what it is. Am I right? So ultimately आप 600 के ऊपर टैक्स पे कर रहे हो. ये 200 में जो आपने टैक्स पे कर दिया रिटायरमेंट में 45(4) पे, उसका मुझे बेनिफिट फ्यूचर. वो basically you can say it's added to my cost. So my cost has become 1500 plus 200, 1700 minus 2100. नहीं मिलेगा ना सर इंडेक्सेशन. लैंड की कॉस्ट 1500 है सर. वो इंडेक्सेशन होगा 1500 की कॉस्ट का. 1500 की कॉस्ट का फर्म के हाथ में इंडेक्सेशन होएगा कैपिटल गेन का. सॉरी, it will happen. It will happen when I sell that land, it will index plus I'll add 200 rupees. That I'll get. That will happen. You got it? 1500 index. If I sell it after 2 years, 200 rupees I'll add. Yes, because that's a cost of improvement.
That also is index.
Yes, yes. So this is, in this example, I said I immediately sell it. So I sell it after 1 year, for an example. So 1500 का cost है land का books में. Maybe 3 years before, I get an indexation benefit. So इसमें अगर मेरा 2100 value, let us take an example now. Very right point you have said it. That if 1500, if I index it, tax ही नहीं आता है, तो मैं retirement क्यों करूँ? और tax pay करूँ 200 पे. Technically there may be a loss subsequently. Only because fair market value I am not getting indexation today because I am distributing as a money. So I can do that. Oh, I got example. Distribution of capital asset on retirement. Facts are similar. So fair market value of 1/3 land is 700. Here I am distributing 1/3 land उसको transfer करके दे रहा हूँ instead of cash. Same scenario. 2100 की वैल्यू 700 रुपया उसका राइट बना. आई एम सेइंग आई गिव यू अ लैंड. सो बोथ विल ट्रिगर. पहले फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू ऑफ कैपिटल एसेट रिसीव्ड इज 700. अंडर 9B आई पे टैक्स ऑन 200. एम आई राइट? व्हाट विल हैपन इन 45(4)? My cost when I calculate of the capital asset of capital gain will go up from 500 to 566, not 200 completely cost. It's a 1/3 share of tax paid for me, my share. Confused? Let us go to 9B. Fair market value, what I have received, very straight, 700 rupees. What was my partner's cost of 1/3 land in that case? What would be the capital gains? 200 rupees I have to pay, right, on retirement. 200 का शेयर किसका किसका कितना बना? आपने मेरे को पूछा था who will pay cash for tax. मैंने तो लैंड दिया है, तो तीनों पार्टनर इंट्रोड्यूस करेंगे. मैं जब इंट्रोड्यूस करूंगा तो मेरा कैपिटल अकाउंट कितना बैलेंस हो जाएगा? I will pay 66 my share. He will pay 66. Everybody will pay 66. So my capital account will go up to 566. Am I right? Yeah. So then I'll do a working of 45(4). That time I'll pay 134 again. Next line. Now, so distribution 700, opening balance 500, X share on devaluation 200, 700 हो गया. Correct? Realized profit is 66 rupees. Unrealized profit is 134. I come. As per CPTT guidelines, retiring partner share of value appreciation in capital asset distributed to him is includable in his capital account balance. Reduce 134 from sale consideration on transfer of 2/3 land in future by firm. जो 200 पे किया 166 का बेनिफिट तो अभी मिल गया 45(4) में. 134 I will get it when in future I have sold the asset by the firm, remaining partners. Say firm sells 2/3 land for 1400. Because 1/3 is transferred, 2100, 1400. Cost of acquisition, ignoring indexation, is 1000 rupees. 1500 ka 2/3, and the amount attributed is 134. So net capital gain is 266. So 400 में से 134 reduce हो गया. Thus, there is no double taxation in any particular case. There is no double taxation happening. What I am trying to say. Confused there? हाँ, एग्जाम्पल कंफ्यूज है कि कुछ और कंफ्यूजन है? कंफ्यूजन है. चलो we'll go again one by one. First I am calculating 9B. Let us ignore 45(4) for time being. We should go step by step. क्योंकि generally in such an entries, unless and until you actually do not, मैंने भी बनाया तो मैंने tally में enter करके देखा. आपको you believe me? You have to enter it in the books of accounts. That how it will look into it. Yes sir. So I have an asset Same facts. What I had an asset is, I have a capital account balance of 500, 500, 500, 1500 rupees. This is the, my indicative balance sheet. Land represented by equal partner balance. Fair market value of land is 2100. Just keep this in mind. This is the factual position. Now, I have decided that one of the partner wants to retire. And he says, I will retire. And instead, we have seen an example there when he was given a money. He says, 1/3 land is 700, which is represented by capital, is settled by distribution of 1/3 land against his capital balance of 500. Up 1/3 land leakage in 1/3 right in the land is transferred. So there is a transfer of capital asset. Capital asset is received by specified person. So technically both are triggered. 9B and 45(4). Now I am applying 9B. Once I apply 9B, I need to take a fair market value of asset received, 700 rupees. What is my cost of 1/3 land? 500. So 200 pay capital gains tax. Who will pay? Firm will. When firm pays 200 tax, technically whom it is going to debit? All three partners. So 66 rupees will be again debited to me. So my balance becomes 566. Obviously, you have already debited land to them when land goes. Now, again, there is a working of a capital asset in 45(4). I have got a land of 700 rupees on which my capital account balance is 566. So tax will be paid on 134 rupees only over there. So आप क्या पे कर रहे हो? Technically आपको लग रहा है 200 plus 134. Am I right? 200 is the value of appreciation in the land plus 134 which I am withdrawing from the capital account balance. ऐसा लग रहा है कि दो बार टैक्स हो रहा है. Capital gain in the hands of the firm 200 and 134. Am I right? दो बार टैक्स हो रहा है. बेनिफिट तो सब मिलने वाला है. Yes, यहाँ पे मिलेगा. That's what I'm saying. You will get a benefit. 66 का बेनिफिट तो इमीडिएट मिल गया. 200 जो टैक्स पे किया वो वापस मैं फर्म को यहाँ पे पे नहीं कर रहा हूँ. So 66 का benefit they have already given. Balance 134 I will get it in the hands of the firm later on when I sell that particular asset and the capital gain would have accrued on the 2/3 portion. So 2/3 portion का जो मैंने टैक्स अभी रिवैल्यूएशन पे क्या हुआ पूरा टैक्स लग गया. So उसका बेनिफिट मुझे आगे जाके मिलेगा दो पार्टनर्स. So there won't be a double taxation. But though there is not a double taxation, but the huge impact of cash flow today. Yes, sir.
When the benefit goes to that third partner.
नहीं बेनिफिट उसको बोलो टैक्स पे कर दिया ना सर. तो उसको तो 66 ही वो टैक्स पे कर रहा है ना. फर्म के हाथ में जब टैक्स पे हो रहा है. See how he brings when the firm pays tax, it has to be debited in the partnership ratio. You can't say I debit 200 you. How do you do firm accounting? Firm's loss is what? ये तो otherwise it's a notional no everything. Firm के लिए loss ही 200 rupees का है simple. There's no other entry for time in let's presume. क्या entry होने वाली है? In my P&L, it will only appear 200 minus, which 66 will be debited to. So they are warning 134. वो बोलेगा मेरे डेबिट हो गए 134 for what? लैंड आप लेके जा रहे हो 134 मेरा टैक्स गया मैं क्या करूं? वो टैक्स का बेनिफिट मुझे आगे मिलेगा. Yes sir. नहीं how which point? Correct. To this extent, I am getting a double taxation because there are two things which is happening. One is capital asset which has been transferred today. I pay 200 rupees as a capital gain under section 9B. Now, but capital account is increased. I am getting a value of asset under 45(4), so I am getting a benefit. But 134 जो pay हो रहा है, उसका मुझे benefit मिलना चाहिए ना कहीं. वो cost में add हो गया. तो वहां पे मैं 400 पे टैक्स नहीं पे करूंगा जब 600 का ओवरऑल एप्रिसिएशन 600 है. 600 से ज्यादा पे टैक्स लगना नहीं लगना चाहिए. उस टाइम पे 200 लगा तो मैं 400 पे भरा. अभी 334 लग रहा है तो मैं पीछे जाके आई विल पे ऑन 266 only. Now I paid on 200 plus 134, 334. Then I will pay on 266. That's what this example is. same, which is from the CBDT circular guideline. Yes.
The calculation is fine, sir. Suppose if you take, there is no requirement, okay? And then you do the revaluation, you're not going to pay any tax, correct?
No, if there is no retirement, then you don't receive anything.
Correct. So to the extent of those two partners, I don't think so there is any retirement, so why pay on the next one? I think only on 66. right?
No, sir, retirement is there. No? See, in this facts case, let us come to case. If there is no retirement, no reconstitution, we are not there. Sir, if there is no reconstitution, we are not there. 45,490 hai nahi. We are going on a fact pattern whereby there is a retirement. And on retirement, obviously, he will say, you give me my 1/3 right of the land. So then what happens?
Okay.
मेरे को 1/3 का लैंड मेरे को मेरे जेब में दे दो तो मेरा जो काम है टैक्स कैलकुलेट करना है वो नहीं मांग रहा है तो नहीं मांग रहा है yes now it will pay sir that's why he said there is an accelerating of tax पहले टैक्स पे करो टैक्स तो लगेगा पहले क्या होता था सर व्हाट वाज आवर आर्गुमेंट आई टेल यू in 45.4 why retirement we didn't want to tax them that in the heads of the firm cost never changes. Let's take an example. If one partner is retiring, then and he gets 25% retired. If nothing is even paid or if it is even revalued, whenever actual land was sold by the firm, the revaluation value was ignored. Your cost was considered at the original cost plus indexation. All these examples are without indexation to make it simpler. So it's an original cost. So firm never used to get a benefit in any case. So they said, sir, firm को टैक्स नहीं मिलता लेकिन मैं आज टैक्स करूंगा जितना टैक्स पे कर रहा हूँ उसको फर्म को बाद में बेनिफिट दे दूंगा. There was no provision. Our argument was that in the hands of the firm, cost of acquisition remains same. How can you tax it in the hands of the partner? There would be double taxation. So they said, sorry, we'll tax it. I'll remove double taxation. Don't worry. I'll give you a benefit later on. Distribution of stock in trade on retirement. So stock in trade is covered under 9B. Let us take it. Now in this case, values are same. I have taken it. Fair market value of SIT stock in trade is 700. Cost of that land is 500. Business income is 200. Very simple. Same example. Only land is instead of a asset, it is stock in trade. Fair market value of 1/3 is 700. I have to pay tax on 200, right? Business income, no question of double taxation because not covered under 45(4). Capital asset होते ही दोनों लग जाता है. Stock in trade में benefit है. Because only 9B triggers. No, of course, 9B has come. Now let us take an example. Of course, retirement was never covered. If on retirement I would have actually given a stock, whether tax would have applied earlier, when not under 45(4), but under regular business income or not. One partner is retiring. I'm a builder. I have 5 units. 5 partners, 20% each. एक पार्टनर बोलता है मेरे को पार्टनरशिप में नहीं रहना ये कब बिकेगा मुझे मेरा फ्लैट मेरे नाम पे ट्रांसफर करके दे दे. One partner goes out, 4 partners continues, 4 flats continues, 1 partner gets flat registered. क्या होगा? Funded off 45(4)(9)(b. It was not on the statute. सर उसको पैसा तो प्रॉपर्टी तो बेची ना. लैंड would that flat amount to a transfer? Sale of stock. नॉट ट्रांसफर सेल ऑफ स्टॉक गिना जाएगा तो टैक्स होता था उस भी दिन में. इट्स एज गुड एज सोल्ड फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू पे. आई वुड हैव डेबिटेड हिम एंड क्रेडिटेड माय सेल प्रोसीड्स. तो टैक्स तो होता ही था ना. तो इसमें कोई ज्यादा डिफरेंस क्या है? वैल्यूएशन फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू उस टाइम पे भी राइट था उनके पास. 43 CA तो लग ही गया ना. Presuming 43 CA is there since 2014, somewhere 13-14. Am I right, sir? नहीं उसमें भी कॉस्ट तो कम होएगा ही ना सर. फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू में तो कॉस्ट तो कम हो ही गई, इट्स अ सेल, सी तो इट वाज ऑलवेज टैक्सेबल, so that's why I wondered कि अगर स्टॉक इन ट्रेड में ट्रांसफर कर रहा हूं तो क्यों 9B लेके आए? कोई एक ऐसा भी आर्गुमेंट हुआ है क्या पहले कि भाई अगर मैं स्टॉक इन ट्रेड भी रिटायरमेंट में दे रहा हूं तो टैक्स ही नहीं होता है, फेल होता है? What's the purpose? If it was already taxable, I could have been 9B capital asset covered under 45(4). Dissolution covered under capital asset, not 45(4) but 5. Stock in trade, it's a regular business income. It's you are treating it as a sale in any case. Then why? It's a very pertinent question. It changes nothing according to me.
The value of sale, if you are going to calculate that, how do you work it out?
No, you
How
do
do you reduce?
see, question is you will do it at a book value. That's what the worry is. If that I will like to, I said in my example, you take this example, sorry. 1/3 land को मैंने 500 rupees में उसको ट्रांसफर कर दिया. ये लैंड मेरा स्टॉक इन ट्रेड था, डेवलपर हूँ, land was a stock in trade, so I'm reducing my stock by the price which I have debited. So when I'm reducing the stock, it's as good as sale for me. No? How you do a book accounting? My land is 1700. I've sold 1/3 right in that land for 500 rupees. Or not? It's a stock in trade. So when stock in trade, how do you account? You show sales.
Stock will reduce, sale will improve. But if you-
So because you're doing it at 500, no tax, fine. Now the question is, I'm bringing a 9B with a definition of FMB. अगर स्टॉक को मैं FMP में नहीं बेचता था, मैं 500 में डेबिट करता था तो चलता था क्या? मैं ये पूछ रहा हूँ. इसके लिए उनको बड़ी है कि मैं 9B लाके यहाँ पे फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू डालूं. Sir, stock should have been fair market value. Officer always had the power to determine fair market value in whatever circumstances. Otherwise, I will not sell gold also. I'll sell all my gold to my proprietor at whatever rate. Stock per jeweler. It is always your sale price can be disregarded. That power is always there. Sir, मेरे ख्याल से dissolution को इसमें लाना था इनको. Okay, even on the dissolution also, if the asset is transferred at the book value, I'll do it at a fair market value. See, dissolution was otherwise covered under the capital asset, but it was not covered over here. But I really think there is no specific benefit available to them. In fact, I also am thinking इनको क्या मिला इधर लाके 9B को इस चीज में stock and trade के लिए. क्योंकि PGP में in my regular section it becomes an income in the hands of the firm in any case on transfer of a particular asset. It becomes an income. The only thing what I can presume over here is, yes sir, ये fair market value अभी responsibility assessee के ऊपर डाल दी. Otherwise fair market value determine करने के लिए उसको scrutiny में लेना पड़ता था और फिर determine होती थी. क्योंकि I can sell stock at whatever price. Nobody stops me. It doesn't stops me today. There is no restriction under the law.
When you sell it to the partner, the partner also will be debited.
Correct.
Possible sample will go down to that extent. So that's why we keep it free. I mean, we cannot do it free.
No, if you are giving it at a cost, there is no tax implication. And now I have to go it on fair market value. Where is the specific provision? Earlier there was no specific provision. There was a power available to assessing officer to disregard your value. Now there is a very clear that fair market value पे करना है. It's only clarifying that situation according to B. That's what I understand.
43 is, redirected. Redirected and say number.
हाँ तो वही fair market value वो उसमें 43C में you are right. यहाँ पे FMB है. FMB को define किया separately section 2 में. That's a fair market value which it can get it fetch it from the market. You are right. So it's higher than the. It may be higher. It may be higher than the stamp duty value. You are right. Very correct. So some illustrative further issues. Is tax under 45(4) triggered upon partner retiring from the firm or upon actual receipt from firm? आपका क्वेश्चन था किसी का. चलो मैं सीधा इतने issues है एक एक फटाफट we'll just go through it. A partner receives in March 2021 whose account is settled in March 22 by cash payment. Whether 45(4) triggers in 2021 or 21-22. This is just examples. View 1, view 2 है इसके लिए. Yes. So one view is as soon as it gets credited to partner capital account, it is as good as paid, and he has received it. It's worth, so it should be taxed. And second view would be say, the word receive means you go into the history, there has been an interpretation of word receive, whether a dimming, of course, payable के लिए उल्टा है, 41 में payable को इन्होंने बोला कि even a dimming is, it should not be, it should be treated as paid. If it is credited to account, it is paid. It should not be remain payable. So they have gone into that. So there are two views available to it. A more good view would be my view. Can I give? मैंने दोनों view रखा है यहाँ पे with an argument which you can look into it. But my view would be actual when it is received. Constructive receive should not be the area. So your question, अगर मेरे को receive March 22 में होता तो March 22 को credit code. Till the time it's only all book entries. There's no receipt. Whether 45-4 is prospective or retrospective. Partner retires in March 20, but his account is settled in April 20 by cash payment. So let's presume 1 April 20 से ये law applicable होगा. Is 45-4 triggered, which is effective from assessment year 21-22. अभी आप बोलोगे नहीं सर. ये 54 जैसा है. 54 में पता है ना, परचेज कभी भी हो सकता है आपका. आप जब अलॉटमेंट लेते हैं तो भी परचेज है सर. कंस्ट्रक्शन जब खत्म होता है, पोजीशन मिलता है तो भी परचेज है. इन बिटवीन आपने पेमेंट किया और कंस्ट्रक्शन नहीं हुआ तो भी परचेज है. यू कैन फाइंड जजमेंट एवरीवेयर. एम आई राइट? बट ये ऐसा नहीं है सर. वो 54 एग्जेम्पशन प्रोविजन है, व्हिच इज ऑलवेज इंटरप्रेटेड लिबरली. ये टैक्सिंग प्रोविजन है, इसमें लिबरल प्रोविजन नहीं काम आएगा. The question is now, how will you say 45-4? Very important.
At the retirement is in the past year.
Sir, most importantly, when did the reconstitution happen? Is 45-4 determinable on reconstitution? Taxes important when the reconstitution tax. It's payable on receipt. Can I say that? Transfer has happened. So when does the transfer happens? On reconstitution. So reconstitution has already happened earlier. So the tax event has occurred. हमारे वो indirect tax expert है कोई यहाँ पे? Indirect tax में हमेशा क्या होता है कि taxable event कब occur होता है और tax कब pay होता है, दोनों difference है. So taxable event occur हो गया, ट्रांसफर हो चुका है, आज टैक्स ही हो सकता है सर. शेयर डील होती है सर, आई टेल यू. कैपिटल गेन्स अब जब शेयर बेचते हैं, जो प्राइवेट इक्विटी इन्वेस्टमेंट्स आते हैं, देयर इज शेयर डील. सो देयर इज ऑलवेज अ पेमेंट. ट्रांसफर ऑफ शेयर्स हैपन टुडे, बट इन ईयर 1 यू विल बी पेड 40%. ईयर 2 एंड ऑफ 1 ईयर का सैटिस्फैक्टरी कंप्लीशन पे बैलेंस 30% और थर्ड ईयर में बैलेंस 30%. कैपिटल गेन कैसे पे करोगे? ट्रांसफर ऑफ शेयर्स हैज हैपेंड इन ईयर 1. यू शुड हैव, योर कंसीडरेशन इज 100 रुपीस. 60 आपको पे कर दिया, 2020 आपको ईयर 2 ईयर 3 में इससे पे करने वाले कि तू 2 साल मेरे को हैंड होल्ड करेगा. When will tax happen? Transfer is first, but consideration not received. कैपिटल गेन में ऐसा कोई वर्किंग नहीं है, बाद में मैं वापस उसको ऐड करके री टैक्स पे करूंगा. तो कैसे कर रहे हो? ईयर 1 में फुल वैल्यू पे पे टैक्स करूं, मतलब 60 रुपीज दो और 100 के ऊपर 20 पे करूं, और बाद में 40 नहीं आया तो 40 इज कंटिंजेंट. प्रमोटर का दिमाग घूम गया, वो नहीं गया ऑफिस तो नहीं देने वाला है. आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू सपोर्ट यू. You see, there may be, there are, please take it in, there are disputes. Okay, you didn't came, you didn't introduce 5 clients, 4 clients have left. I had bought it for those clients. You didn't attend it, your 5 employees left. So there are always इतने covariance होते कि वो break होते हैं. So the question is, tax occurs at the time when the reconstitution happened. So the more logical view would be that it should be taxed over. So, but two views remain. We have to live with it. And we will have to dispute till the time judicial precedence comes. And I would not be surprised if both sides judicial precedence आपको आने वाला है. हाँ, यहाँ पे जो बैठे हैं वो ये ऐसा आर्ग्यू करेगा तो वो भी जीतेगा, और कोई ऐसा आर्ग्यू करेगा तो वो भी जीतेगा. फिर सुप्रीम कोर्ट डिसाइड करेगा, ऐसा लगता है. क्यों सुभाष भाई? हाँ ठीक है. So live it with that. Similarly 9D के लिए prospective और retrospective. Impact of retirement of partner at book value. Settlement of an amount equivalent to partner's capital may not attract capital gains implication of whatever if such settlement as per long-standing terms of partnership such it reflects working out of pre-existing rights. So I am not paying anything over and above. अभी इसमें एक क्वेश्चन आता है. Let us take an example. Somebody says कि partner receives it and tax is paid by him. So I have a 5 lakhs capital. I receive 10 lakhs. 56(2) तो नहीं लगेगा ना? 5 के सामने 10 मिला सर. नहीं ऐसे नहीं, वो दोनों इंडिपेंडेंट है. 45(4) लगा दिया, 9 भी लगा दिया. 5 के सामने 10 दिया, 5 लाख के ऊपर I paid firm paid tax. Maybe under 9B profits and gains of business capital, whatever it is, forget. मुझे रिसीट हुआ असेट 500 का 700 का असेट 500 में मिला. 200 पे 56(2) लगेगा क्या? सेल और परचेज में तो दोनों बाजू लगता ही है ना सर, ऐसा ना नहीं है. हाँ सर. सर पार्टनर में 500 का मेरे को मिला, 700 200 रुपया एक्स्ट्रा मिला. यू आर सेइंग कि मेरी फॉर्म में मैंने पहले 700 क्रेडिट कर दिया था तो मुझे वो 700 ही मिला, तो ज्यादा कुछ भी नहीं मिला. उसमें मुझे इग्नोर नहीं करना है वो रिवैल्यूएशन रिजर्व, देयर इज नो सच प्रोविजन. गुड पॉइंट नंबर 1. लेकिन अगर क्रेडिट नहीं हुआ, मुझे खाली असेट ट्रांसफर कर दिया 1/3, मुझे क्रेडिट नहीं होता है ना सर. फाइनेंस में सर इन बुक्स व्हाट यू डू दिस आर ऑल आउट ऑफ बुक्स. My capital is 500. I debit you for 500. You take home asset. That's all. When you get home asset, officer comes and says, "Boss, 500. You bought this asset for 500. It's worth 700 rupees. Give me tax of 200 rupees." He goes to firm and says, "I will take tax on 200 rupees." My assessing officer says, "The boss, this is 700. You bought an asset worth rupees for 500 rupees. Those who have tax for 1 rupees is too bad."
I still get the capital receipt from the firm.
It's not an income.
No.
For taxing under section 56(2), I have to first fall under the definition of income 224. Am I right? Yes. I agree with you, sir. 100%. Okay. 100% my view, sir. I clarify my view. Okay, it has to be an income. It's not an income at my end. It's my withdrawal of my capital balances. Even if that withdrawal is differential, 500 की जगह मैंने 700 withdraw कर दिया, तो it's a capital receipts. So 56 should not be attractive. Impact of partners capital account turning negative by ignoring revaluation. Now this is something different. I'll just skip it. It will complicate further. I don't want to complicate it much. Waiver of debit balance in partners capital account on retirement. मैं रिटायर हो गया, मेरा डेबिट बैलेंस था, वो पैसा मैंने नहीं रिकॉर्ड क्या 45(4) मेरे को पैसा मिला नहीं. So what is it? Money received in connection with reconciliation 500. Partners capital balance था 2000 डेबिट. So मुझे 2500 मिला कि क्या हुआ? तो 45(4) मनी हाँ
because of the income receipt.
सर है कि नहीं एक्सेस रिसीट? तो पैसा को टैक्स होगा कि नहीं होगा? लेट अस टेक एन मेमोरेंडम अकाउंट. विड्रॉल इन ईयर 1 मेरा ओपनिंग बैलेंस 1000 है, 3500 हो गया, क्लोजिंग 2500. P&L waiver मैंने 500 रुपया किया और क्लोजिंग बैलेंस मैंने कैरी फॉरवर्ड किया. आई एम ओनली टेकिंग 500 रुपीस waiver. I only waived 500. Whether there will be a capital gains under 45(4), 2500, technically it may happen. Whether this would be constructive receipt of 2500, it should. I have received money. क्या I'll say I have not received? ये सबसे मेरे को 500 ही मिला.
That means I have received.
Yes sir. नहीं गेन को टैक्स नहीं है ना सर, गेन पे टैक्स नहीं, गेन टैक्स और रिसीट पे है ना. आई कैन ऑब्वियसली से गेन, मेरे को फायदा बहुत हुआ, उससे क्या मतलब है. देन अगेन आई गो बाय सीनियर मेंबर्स व्यू दैट इट्स नॉट एन इनकम. खैर इनकम टैक्स ही होती है, तो कैपिटल गेन है, कैपिटल रिसीट ही है। यहाँ पे वो भी नहीं चलेगा सर आपका व्यू, क्योंकि यहाँ पे तो कैपिटल को ही टैक्स करना है, कैपिटल को ही टैक्स करना है, कैपिटल रिसीट को ही। Will it fall under 45(4)? The way it reads today, a very conservative view would be tax. Conservative view. Aggressive view would be not taxable. कारण रिसीट है ही नहीं, तो आप क्या करोगे? टैक्स भरोगे कि नहीं भरोगे? हाँ We will not pay technically, according to me. Most of you would not pay. You means when I'm talking of you, you will advise possibly that we may take a call that there is no receipt of money and therefore 45(4) does not trigger. ये हमने देख लिया. ये we have discussed it, so I'm just specified partner legal representative को जो पैसा मिला तो टैक्स नहीं होगा. इसमें भी वो मैंने कहा ना दो व्यू है, एक तो लीगल हैंड स्टेप इन द शूज ऑफ इट. But if you why I'm saying that legal hand steps into the shoes of deceased partner, payment is made to legal hand pursuant to right conferred on deceased partner in terms of partnership deed. Concept of substituted assessee endorsed. Madras High Court judgment exemption under 54 allowed to a deceased taxpayer even when the investment in yours was made by son of deceased taxpayer. So we are just trying to borrow that logic that technically I am entering into shoes. The view which is in favor of the department that legal head will have to pay. वो ये आर्ग्यूमेंट है. क्या लीगल हेड वाज नेवर, व्हाई इट विल नॉट अप्लाई? इट वाज नेवर एडमिटेड इनटू अ पार्टनरशिप, hence not a specified person. Being a charging provision, strict interpretation. 159, 168 providing taxing deceased person's income in the hands of legal representatives. Such provisions are inapplicable to present case because it's taxable in the hands of firm. So it's not that legal head is stepping in the shoes and 168, 159. I am a legal representative and I have to tax if it was taxable in the hands. ये तो फर्म के हाथ में, फर्म बोलेगा हमने पार्टनर को पे ही नहीं किया, खत्म. Interest paid by a firm to estate of deceased partner administered by trustee is not hit by 40B. As such, trustee was never admitted. So these are certain judgments. इसमें एक judgment मेरे पास था लेकिन I missed it to put it in. It says, which I discussed, that income in nature of a person who was living does not become the same nature in the hands of deceased. For her, it remains a capital. Impact of corporatization of firm under section 4713. What is 4713 or post 21 post retirement? Let us take this example. XYZ, three partners having equal PSR, equal capital contribution. This should have been firm, not LLP. Partner X retires with effect 1st January 2021. Value of X interest is determined at ₹3,000 because land value is 9,000. At the end of 3 years on 31st, X is recognized in books of LLP as a creditor. So I have retired. 3,000 मेरा अब partner हूँ नहीं तो credit account में credit होगा. Post retirement remaining partners decide to carry on business. On March 21, Y and Z form a company. Increasing capital therein, and I company purchase business from LLP or for some consideration. Conversion is exempt, presuming. On December 23, I company discharges the debt in favor of tax by payment of cash. क्या होगा? अभी तो कंपनी पे कर रही है, फर्म LLP जो भी तो कन्वर्ट हो गया. मेरा अमाउंट जमा हो गया 3,000 क्रेडिटर का on reconstitution. Charge was triggered on reconstitution. Payment is paid later. It's a simple example, but it is not paid by the firm. It is paid by the successor company. What happens? Very strong view. 44 triggers charge where specified person receiving money from a specified entity. Again, these are views. There can be two different. When we are taking a view that receipt के ऊपर tax हो रहा है, अगर वो व्यू अगर आप ले लोगे reconstitution पे हो गया, आपने भरा तो ठीक, नहीं भरा तो खत्म हो. अगर दोनों व्यू आप ले लो ना तो इसमें बड़ा एक गैप आ रहा है सर. जब भी हर आदमी वही करेगा कि रिकंस्टिट्यूशन और रिसीट को ब्रेक करेगा. टाइमिंग विल बी ब्रेक. At a stage of discharge of tax, charging provision requires strict construction. Absence of receipt by partner from a specified person may frustrate the charge. That's what we said earlier also. If I go on a receipt basis, if there is nothing received, no tax. So whosoever pays does not impact. Withdrawal of firms property by partners in their PSR ratio, उसमें क्या हो? सर योर केस, किसी ने एक केस बताया था कि मैंने क्या किया, मेरा 50-50 राइट है, मैंने विड्रॉ कर दिया, मेरे प्रॉफिट रेशियो में क्यों टैक्स लगेगा क्या सर? I have a 3 partners, capital account balance is 1,000 rupees, business 2,000, fair market value 6,000, land is 1,000, so business assets are 2,000 rupees, जिनकी fair market value 6,000 है, so I have assets worth 9,000. According to land B, having fair market value of 3,000 is distributed to X against the entitlement of 3,000. एक पार्टनर को बोला तो जमीन लेके चले जा, लैंड पूरा 3,000, आपका पार्टनर सेटल हो गया, टोटल वैल्यू इज 9,000, मुझे 3,000 का असेट देना है, बोला तू ये एक लैंड ले जा, बाकी का जो बिजनेस में असेट पड़े उसको छोड़ जा. So I have given a land for 3,000. There is no dissolution, there is no reconsideration. What happens to 4549B? मैं कंटिन्यू करता हूं, मैं उसको 3,000 का खाली असेट दे रहा हूं सर, मैं विड्रॉ कर रहा हूं फर्म्स प्रॉपर्टी. सर मैं प्रॉपर्टी विड्रॉ कर रहा हूं, 4549 का हो रहा है, रिकंसिडरेशन होना जरूरी है कि नहीं है? क्या कुछ भी नहीं कर रहा हूं, खाली फर्म की प्रॉपर्टी विड्रॉ कर रहा हूं 3,000 डेबिट करके. सर मेरे को डेबिट हो गया ना 3,000, आपकी वैल्यू लैंड है, आपने मुझे डेबिट कर दिया, मैंने लैंड ट्रांसफर कर दिया. 4549 की बात कर रहा हूँ सर, आप आगे मत जाइए, टैक्स लगेगा वो आप टैक्स पे जा रहे हो सर. मैं रेस्ट्रिक्ट हूँ जो 4549 दूसरे सेक्शन नहीं देख रहा हूँ सर. आज मैंने उसको 3,000 रुपया डेबिट करके दे दिया तो लैंड बेचा ना, 4549 तो नहीं है ना, बेचा, उसके जो प्रोविजन है वो है. अगर मेरा लैंड है, कैपिटल एसेट है तो कैपिटल गेन्स है, सब है, वो लगेगा, उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है ना मुझे. बट 4549 भी नो, सो आई कैन विथड्रॉ प्रॉपर्टी, आई विल कंटिन्यू टू रिमेन इन पार्टनर, ही विल ओनली डेबिट worth of the property to my partner's capital account, 3,000 rupees debited to me, nothing to worry about 4549B. क्या 4549B थोड़ा सा रिस्की है ना, टैक्स आज पे करते हो, बेनिफिट बाद में मिलता है, इसमें तो मैंने टैक्स ट्रांसफर कर दिया 3,000, आज टैक्स पे करूंगा मैं उसको, ठीक है ना, और उसके हाथ में कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन 3,000 हो गई इमीडिएट. I will just move it because we have time, sir. 45. Okay. The general principles, I'll just go because this all, if I go in detail, this will take time. एक मिनट, इसको वापस करो ना, वैसा चेंजिंग स्लाइड चला गया. General principles, I'll just wrote it at the rule 8A5 and 8AB जो prescribe किया था, I'll just go through that. Section 45(4) taxes realization in excess of partner's capital account balance, which represents such partner's share in value appreciating of remaining capital assets. You have to just keep it in mind. These are the objectives of 45(4) and 9B. Since value appreciation is already taxed under 45(4) at time of reconstitution, 48(3) provides for attributing 45(4) capital gains to remaining capital assets that we have seen in the example. Amount so attributed is reduced from sale consideration as and when such remaining capital assets are transferred by the firm. Opposite principle is equally applicable to capital asset forming part of depreciable assets. लगेगा कि नहीं लगेगा sir? Same, because it's a capital asset at the time of transfer of amount so attributed on depreciable capital asset is reduced from monies payable or a sale consideration if 50, section 50 applies, and only net amount is received reduced from WDV or charge as a short-term capital gains if section 50 applies. Am I right? Clear? However, actual cost remains intact, no depreciation or indexation benefit is available on amount so attributed. Short term में depreciation नहीं मिलेगा, difference के ऊपर tax का कैलकुलेशन होगा. Very detailed. I'll just skip it because this, if I go, it will take time. What I can do is I'll just share this presentation. What I have done is I've tried to visualize the situation and put it in form of examples. Okay, how taxing it can be. And when you actually put it into it, if you put this examples as take this presentation and put it in a live case, कि मैं ये actual में कर रहा हूँ, then you will actually come to know how the taxation is happening in 45(4) and 9B. So with this, I'll try to end my this presentation. Thank you very much. If anybody has any other questions, please we can take it. Rather than going into those examples because that will extend very high. Yeah.
Then once you give the share of profit in the home, it's done. Then whether 45 will be done.
If he wants to gift the shares, how will he gift? What do we buy? How does a gift is done? No, so how does the gifting takes place? The question is two questions. Whether you can actually give the partnership right share without the consent of other partners. Partnership presupposes that the for admitting anybody as a partner, other partners have to agree. So I can't do a gift deed, go and say gift deed, कि मेरा ये 1/3 right है, मैं इसको gift कर रहा हूँ, आप उसको partner लो. वो कल बोलेगा नहीं, your son is no, he is not a good person, he is a bad boy. I can't admit him as a partner for whatever many reasons. I can't do that. Then, so you can't gift it technically. If you want to gift it, what you can do is you will have to ultimately admit him as a partner and retire him as a partner. So there won't be any tax in that case because is there any amount received by the partner, by any of the partners? No. कैपिटल बैलेंस पार्ट में नहीं. ये आप जो बोल रहे हो ये पूछ रहा है कि अगर मेरा कैपिटल अकाउंट बैलेंस, व्हाट इज आस्किंग इज अ रिलेवेंट क्वेश्चन, दैट इफ माय फादर्स कैपिटल अकाउंट बैलेंस ऑन हिज रिटायरमेंट and so father retires, son gets admitted and that is now transferred in name of son, what happens to that? तो आप यही समझो कि मैंने 500 रुपया विड्रॉ किया, 500 रुपया सन ने इंट्रोड्यूस किया, प्रॉब्लम की तरह नहीं, लेकिन लैंड की वैल्यू हाई है तो अरे सर क्या ये कैपिटल नहीं है यार, कैपिटल असेट भी तो हो सकता है ना भाई साहब. सर अगर ये बेटा नहीं है तो टैक्स है, रिटायरमेंट और एडमिशन में बेटा नहीं है और ऑन लैंड है तो टैक्स है कि नहीं है. तो ये यही पूछ रहा है कि बेटा है तो क्या एक्सेम्पशन मिलेगा. Very important, good question here. I never thought of. I'll try to include that also. Yes, sir. This is not family settlement. Family settlement is a bigger hodgepodge wherein there are multiplicity of assets.
In the changing constitution, retirement need and the tax will be applicable for that.
Because of family settlement, there is a retirement happened in the firm. So whether tax would be applicable or not. See, per se family settlement, it has been held that there is no, it's a quid pro. So it's a common hodgepodge. I am getting what is my right only. There is no asset transferred or there is no tax. It's all on capital receipts. There are judgments to that effect. Now the question is, if the retirement is given, is happening only because of a part of a larger family settlement, then I would say it should not be taxed. It would fall under the larger family settlement. Similarly, if his question was, कि अगर मैं रिटायर होके कोई और एडमिट हो रहा है, मैं मेरा लैंड का 1/3 राइट, technically I am relinquishing, I am not taking anything, I am not receiving, then there is no problem. He just enters into it and he gets 1/3 right, so there is no 45(4)(9)(b) in any case. हाँ सर, हाँ तो कोई रिसीव और पेमेंट नहीं है तो कुछ भी टैक्स नहीं है ना. रिसीव और पेमेंट इंपॉर्टेंट है ना. अगर वो लैंड 1/3 में उसको दे रहा हूं तो इम्पोर्टेंट है. वो लैंड वहां पे ही पड़ी है आज भी, कोई रिसीव ही नहीं करता है. 3 पार्टनर आते और 3 पार्टनर जाते तो क्या हुआ, तो कोई प्रॉब्लम ही क्या है. तो वही चुना वाला लॉ. No, he would have paid, but there is no payment. No, there is no payment. So the technically, what you say will not be taxable. Because there is no receipt of payment. At the most, what I can say, if it's a cash balance, I have withdrawn my capital, he has brought in his capital. I have not withdrawn more. I didn't got anything more on the requirement over and above the capital account balance. As far as the capital assets are concerned or stock in trade is concerned, I have not received it. So once I am not receiving, 45(4) and 9B will not trigger. That could be the view. Yes, sir. You are saying something. If it's a total same amount, no, sir. So there is no tax. It's as good as I am withdrawing and he is introducing.
We have to see from the point of view of the firm, whether the firm is paying anything or not.
Firm is not paying, no? So firm is paying 500 equal. Let's take an example. Firm is paying also, which is paying equal. 500 rupees only. He is not paying capital asset, जिसकी fair market value हो. पासा मैं 500 रुपए दे रहा हूँ जितना capital account में जमा है, तो कोई tax नहीं है. Yes.
Sir, September, say example, September 2022, our partnership with इसमें 5,000 का capital increase. उसके आगे मैंने that during the year partnership ले लिया. Partnership उस time for 45 crore और 9 million. फिर मैंने वापस मार्च में आया उसमें रिटायर कर दिया और जो सितंबर के इस टाइम नेगेटिव बैलेंस चली गई
क्योंकि उसको डेबिट कर दिया, जितना ले लिया उसको आपने डेबिट किया, तो कोई टैक्स नहीं है ना अपने एग्जांपल में.
बैलेंस नेगेटिव चली गई सितंबर में.
हाँ, और फिर वेवर किया, रिकंस्टिट्यूट 6 महीने बाद करके वेवर किया. स्मार्ट मैन पूरा 45(4) को तोड़ दिया है. अरे इज अ वेरी स्मार्ट मैन. सो व्हाट ही इज ट्राइंग टू से, आई अंडरस्टूड करेक्ट मी, he in September 23 he debits the partner 3,000 rupees asset. So उसका partners capital account balance 500 से 2,500 debit चला गया. Am I right? So he is not retired. There is no reconstitution. I have debited it. जो capital gain उस transaction पे लगना है वो लगेगा. 45(4) 9B नहीं लगेगा. उसमें 3,000 पे लगेगा. फिर मैं उसको 31 मार्च को रिकंस्टिट्यूट करके वेवर करता हूँ कि पैसा तो लेना ही नहीं है ना उससे 3,000 रुपए एक्चुअल में. तो करेक्ट, लैंड तो ट्रांसफर होनी थी जो होगी, और मैं उसको वेवर करता हूँ तो वेवर पे टैक्स लगेगा क्या सर?
नेगेटिव बैलेंस में टैक्स
लगाया था क्योंकि वो नेगेटिव बैलेंस आप गेन कर रहे हो अल्टीमेटली. योर पॉइंट सर, इट विल ट्रिगर 100%. करेक्ट, you understood what he said. So 3,000 rupees डेबिट जब मैं उसको वेव करूंगा तब तो ट्रिगर होगा कि नहीं होगा, जो अपन ने देखा था इसमें एग्जांपल के ट्रिगर हो रहा है वेवर के ऊपर 45(4). नहीं बट यहाँ पे तो वेवर हो रहा है ना. 3,000 डेबिट बैलेंस आप रिकवरी, आपने लैंड ट्रांसफर कर दिया 3,000 डेबिट हो गया. हाँ नहीं, ये हैज टू पे. Now firm says you don't pay. Or he brings in and then he withdraws. So if your firm is saying you don't pay, that means again a constructive receipt. Yes. कोई constructive receipt की बात कर रहे हैं ना सर? हाँ, yes है, उसको माइक दो ना.
So I don't think so.
वो उसमें सर दो व्यू है ही है कंस्ट्रक्टिव रिसीट का. देयर आर टू व्यूज व्हिच वी आर लिविंग विद दैट.
Why you want to think of the government? We have to think of government.
सर ये सर इज थिंकिंग ऑफ हिमसेल्फ. ये बोलता होते मैं नहीं भरूंगा पहले खाली कैपिटल गेन 3,000 पे, लेकिन एक बार तो लग ही जाएगा. व्हेन यू आर डेबिटिंग तो उतना तो लगने ही वाला है. यस, thank you. Anything else, sir? So thank you very much for your patience. I hope I have been able to do some justification with 45(4) and 9B by considering various examples. My request is, of course, presentation will be shared. You try to apply it because it is a complicated complicated sections which have come, and the calculations could be quite differently. There could be a lot of situations like he said, what he was trying to say, and we may have to apply every time. And very important for professional would be read every time 45B and 94. And only judicial precedents will tell how this will move. But काम बहुत है sir, litigation में काम बहुत है. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Very interactive session.
Thank you sir. Thank
I
you.
think no interactive इस साल का सबसे ज्यादा interactive session. Thank you sir.
Right? Very and thank you, Piyush. Right? CA Piyush Chandra enlightened every aspect, every issue in related to section 45(4) and 90. हालांकि जब पीयूष जी का इंट्रोडक्शन हो रहा था तो मैं सोच रहा था कि भाई आज पीयूष जी किसी भी इंट्रोडक्शन के मुताबिक नहीं है आपने जो भी लगा कि श्री शब्द के एक कहते होना चाहिए जैसे सूर्य को किसी प्रकार की जरूरत नहीं होती वो जो आता है पूरे जहान में प्रकाश देता है वैसे ही हमारे पीयूष जी आज उनको किसी पैसे की जरूरत थी लेकिन एक फॉर्मल है वो करना होता है जैसे ये कहा गया है कि बेहतर से बेहतर की तलाश करो मिर्जाए नदी को समंदर की तलाश करो टूट जाते हैं शीशे पत्थरों की चोट से तोड़ दे ऐसे पत्थर ऐसे शीशे की तलाश करो मैं चाहूंगा सारे लोग एक बार दोनों का चालू इन 15 मिनट का ब्रेक है और